This is a photo tour of a nearly 100-year-old furnace that was part of this 1926 church building before being demolished to make way for 5 new replacement furnaces. The furnace system consists of a heat exchanger within a brick enclosure and a Peabody Gordon pie at 1,200,000 BTU per hour, natural gas-fired, forced draft burner, a large fan, supply air ducts and grills, return air grills, ducts, and underfloor air tunnels. The original coal-fired furnace was installed in 1926. It was retrofitted for gas in 1954 and demolished in 2006. Here is the original building permit for the installation of the coal furnace. And this permit is for the retrofit to a natural gas burner. This is the front of the brick enclosure. Originally the coal burner was accessed here with a coal stoker extending out into the room. Opposite is a room with a steel door that was used to store coal. 2 chutes extending from iron hatches on the side of the building were used to deliver coal. To the side of the brick enclosure is another room with a steel door that was used to store ashes. This room extends under the street alley. You can see where they chopped out a large section of the brickwork and replaced it with a lighter color brick when they did the retrofit to natural gas. The retrofit consists of the large green insert that you see and connected into the original combustion chamber and heat exchanger. Essentially, it was just a big flamethrower attached to the ash collection area below the old coal bed. It was a synchromatic high-capacity branded unit that was installed by Twin City Furnace 318 East Lake Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota. The 4-inch black vertical pipe is the natural gas line feeding the gas burner through this valve. Yes, it used a ridiculously large quantity of gas. The smaller pipe to the right is a water pipe that extends to the left over to the humidifier. Water was added to the internal pan with a hand valve. Here is a sight glass with 2 valves for monitoring the water level. The original thermometer. These 2 chains are connected to internal dampers which divide supply air between the 2 floors. Additional zone control was available downstream. Here's another view of just before demolition. We gave it a fun paint job and opened the access panel to the combustion chamber for the last firing. You can see that it is lined with bricks that have been disturbed over the decades. These bricks would glow red hot before enough heat was generated to cause the fan to kick in. It took about 45 minutes from a cold start until we got heat out the other end. There is a lot of thermal mass in the bricks and long stretches of ductwork. The ducts were made of very thick sheet metal and were not insulated, even those running the length of the unheated attic space. Here are the final flames before being permanently shut down and disconnected from utilities. We will now head inside the brick enclosure by way of one of 2 access doors. The one word to best describe this furnace is huge. There is enough room inside to comfortably host a dinner party for 8 people. Inside, the fan discharges air down into an underfloor concrete plenum configured to direct the air beneath and up through the heat exchanger. The heated air then exits the top of the furnace through 8 ducts which distribute the heated air to the following: sanctuary, balcony, narthex, fellowship hall, classrooms, kitchen, bookstore, and storage. Below the brick enclosure are 4 concrete chambers where air flows up over the heat exchanger. These chambers extend down 6 to 7 feet, but when this photo was taken, they had been filled in with old bricks ready for paving over. This is the top of the heat exchanger which has the combustion chamber inside of it. You can see how it has rusted out. This is the humidifier water tray located above the heat exchanger. Here is some insignia on the internal ductwork. This is the 14-inch flue coming out of the combustion chamber that feeds out the back of the brick enclosure and then up into a brick 3-story high chimney. Heated air is discharged into these supply air ducts. Here is a creepy look at the whole unit now that part of the brick enclosure has been demolished so we can get a bird's eye view of it. The hazmat team needed to be called in to dismantle it. More on that in my next video. Fan. A large Buffalo single inlet, single width, centrifugal fan, belt driven by a 7.5 horsepower motor. Here is the backside of the brick enclosure. This is the large blower that directs air down underneath the floor into those 4 cavities. Here is the belt drive and oiler system with drip bucket. Here is the 7.5 horsepower motor. Supply air distribution. The largest duct is a 69-inch by 40-inch supply air shaft up into the attic from where the air is ducted to the sanctuary. A 24-inch by 14 duct and a 20-inch by 17-inch duct supplies air to linear sill outlets under windows. A 42-inch by 12-inch duct supplies air to the narthex. A 36-inch by 16-inch duct supplies air to classrooms, the bookstore, and storage rooms. Two 12-inch by 24-inch ducts supply air to the fellowship hall. These are some of the supply air takeoffs coming out of the brick enclosure. Here I am opening an access panel into a supply air trunk. To the left of it is the 14-inch flue. Return air. Air is returned from the spaces to the forced air furnace system for recirculation. Return air from the sanctuary flows through approximately 130 round mushroom-shaped air transfer devices, floor-mounted beneath the pews, into a plenum space created between the sloped floor and the base floor. A flared duct in the furnace room conveys the air from the plenum back to the sheet metal plenum on the inlet side of the system fan. Here are those cast iron mushrooms for return air. Return air from the narthex is conducted into the underfloor sanctuary plenum. Air from the fellowship hall, classrooms, and kitchen returns through two large masonry tunnels under the fellowship hall extending as one underfloor into the furnace room and opens into the sheet metal plenum on the inlet side of the system fan. In the return air path to the fan there is a filter room complete with a door and light. Here I am replacing filters. Ventilation air from the outside is ducted to the inlet side of the fan via a 69-inch by 40-inch air shaft extending 3 floors up to a louvered doghouse on the roof. Air displaced by ventilation air is relieved to the outside via an air shaft adjacent to the chimney stack extending from the basement to another louvered doghouse on the roof. Here is a look up in the vertical shaft that is split into two, one side for supply air going up and the other side for outside air coming down. Here is the access panel to the outside air shaft up in the attic. As you can see, it goes 2.5 stories down to the furnace filter room. Pneumatic powered louvers are located here. Here is the relief air shaft that also goes down 2.5 stories and up into a doghouse on the roof. Pneumatic powered louvers are located at the bottom. Johnson controls are used to regulate the amount of outside air by adjusting the damper opening. A damper in the relief air shaft is also opened. This is the air compressor for the Johnson controls. Don't stick your finger in there. Here is the storage tank and another oiler. The control panel consists of a pressure gauge and an outside air percent lever, both mounted on a beautiful slab of slate weighing in at 60 pounds. Here are some photo previews of future videos. This is what the mechanical room looked like after the furnace was demolished. Demolition was not pretty. The 100-year-old structure was no match for sledgehammers and sawzalls, bring in jackhammers and a plasma cutter. The asbestos was no match for just encapsulating, bring in negative pressure chambers, hazmat suits, a remote laboratory to monitor neighborhood air quality and a direct phone line to the Department of Health. Video coming soon. Here is the installation of 5 modern forced air furnaces ingeniously tied into nearly 100-year-old infrastructure. Here is my museum of creepy old boiler parts that I created while refurbishing a modern boiler and the nearly 100-year-old system of pipes, radiators, and traps. Video coming soon.